All right, so thank you all for your time and attention. We live in an attention economy, and your attention is our form of payment. Thank you for it. We're grateful for it. And I just want to give my brother here a hug. Oh, all right.
Hello, my friend.
It's great to have you in.
Thank you, brother.
So, David's a pioneer in the Metaverse, Web 3.0, and it's great to have him here today and be able to speak to him about what he's doing in the space, because other people aren't doing it. He's a pioneer, and with thought leaders, they're willing to take risks that other people are not. And he teaches me a lot, right? I learn from him, and I want to share what I learned from him with you, and also get you involved in the conversation. Because if you're not involved in the conversation and it's only one-sided, what good is all this shit? It's not good at all. So we want this to be authentic. We want this to come off the right way today. And we want your questions on the metaverse involved. We have all sorts of people on today, from investment consultants that have $15 trillion in assets that they advise on, and hundreds of billions of dollars of assets under management. And we have individual retail investors that are accredited investors that have a couple of $1 million of liquid investable assets and everything in between. So we want to make this valuable to everybody. So first off, if somebody claims to be an expert in the space, I think that you need to start off by saying, that's a red flag, because the track record is not very long. So how can anybody really truly claim to be an expert, right? Somebody cited a statistic today, and I'm sorry, Jeremy, I'm citing some research you did. I'm stealing some data that Jeremy did. Sorry in advance. But there's been $1 billion of hacks in the space already this year. One of them is my favorite project in the metaverse, which is Axie Infinity, right? $600 million. So me personally, Michael Corselli, I'm the founder of Flya. I started off covering family offices for UBS 20 years ago when I was much younger and much more handsome than I am today. A lot lighter and better shape. But I've been passionate about investments prior to even joining a Wall Street firm. I went on to start a macroeconomic hedge fund, raised money for that, made that successful, executed a very successful investment strategy that was cutting edge. And I've done a lot of things over the last 20 years that I'm very proud of. And one of them is joining this organization, Flya, and making it into a leading marketplace for alternative investment education and opportunities. So with that said, I've been Ponzi'd in the space, right? I've gotten into a Ponzi. I've gotten my friends into that same Ponzi with me, and I've learned a lot. But this isn't about me. It's about David Nixad with Psilly, EI Ventures. Tell us a little bit about just what are you up to?
So we've been super blessed in the last, what I would say, 12 or 13 years. I think there are definitely points in your career or entrepreneurial journey where I think they're touch points. And I always say this, a couple touch points for me was driving to Silicon Valley to actually go meet a partner at Cooley, which then told me there was this company called Y Combinator and that he had an extra ticket and I should go and actually, see what it's all about. This was, I think, before YC was this, big, mega company. Now I tell a lot of people, I say, this company is probably going to be $1 trillion plus company. And I remember going there and listening to PG, Paul Graham, speak, and I was like, I came from an entrepreneurial family, and I was like, wow, this guy is like, the Messiah. I think that during my career, I've always connected with people. I was with the gentleman that started Unstoppable Domains 3 years ago. He actually raised his seed round in our house in Maui. And, he said something to me that I really appreciated. Super humble guy named Bradley Cam. He said, David, when I was in your house in Maui, we were raising the seed round, I didn't even really totally understand what we were working on. And, fast forward 3 years, Unstoppable is, I hate to use this metaphor, but, the GoDaddy of Web3. So I think at the end of the day, it's about being a pioneer. It's about taking chances. It's about being humble and doing the work. And I'm very outspoken on different social media channels about who I respect in the space and the different people that I look up to. Like one of the companies that I love that is behind Sky Mavis and Crypto Kitties is Enemico Brands, which is Yatsu. At the end of the day, and I've said this for over a decade, it comes down to the community. And I think better than anybody, this with FlyUp. I know this with Psilly. And at the end of the day, we own a holding company that has over 50 investments, approaching now 100 in rockets, crypto, psychedelics, cannabis, gaming. And everything we do is about a frequency of energy and community. We actually have never raised an institutional round of funding. We've raised almost $40 million. And we are proud that we empower the little guy, our girl.
Little guy, little girl.
Yeah.
So democratization.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what, I can remember hearing Brian Armstrong speak at YC. I can remember I was sitting in like the second row, and he had a hard time raising $600,000, and it was the same year that we actually invested in WeFunder, which now is one of the leading reggae crowdfunding companies. I think right now it's the #1 company as far as crowdfunding. But I remember Brian going to Founders Club and saying, hey, listen, I'm having a hard time raising this round, barely raised 600,000. We're going to crowdfund some of the round. So, I think what gets me, and, I just spent, over a decade in Hawaii, and now I'm in Miami, is that, yesterday I saw a big round of fundraising that they listed a press release with like 70 celebrities. And I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's.
I don't think everybody knows. Actually, I don't think everybody knows. So
No.
Tell the people.
So yeah, I mean, when I see, a cap table with 70 celebrities, and, some of the celebrities are walking contradictions, and, they've already made their money. At the end of the day, what fires me up about crowdfunding and decentralization and crypto and all this community building is about, the guy that wipes down my car at the car wash can invest a couple $100 in my company. And what's so interesting, because we have 11,000 investors. I've probably interacted with a few thousand of them, and it's never about like making money. The first thing they all tell me is there's a connection. They come to my Instagram, they read what I write on Instagram, they read what I write on LinkedIn. It's
What is your Instagram handle, by the way?
My Instagram handle is Psilly Life.
So spell it.
PSILLY life.
Connect with it. This guy's a genius. You'll definitely enjoy following his stuff on a daily basis. I enjoy it.
So if I'm a genius, Michael is an Einstein, and I would say, the few people I respect are people like Michael.
I'm saying it in a genuine, like, absolutely not trying to gas him up.
That's all good.
But follow his stuff. He puts it out on a daily basis. It's great. Also, LinkedIn. He puts out a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. He comments on a lot of stuff. He's a leader in the space. You should follow him on LinkedIn if you want good insights going forward. this is the guy that I follow, and I read his stuff on a regular basis, and I comment on it. Very good insight. So with that said, navigating the gold rush in the metaverse, where is the biggest opportunity today to invest in the gold rush of the metaverse without getting Ponzi'd?
Yes, there is a lot of
I don't
that.
want to get Ponzi'd
No.
again. I hate that.
I'm going to go back to when I started investing at the age of 19 or 20 years old. And unfortunately, I didn't get this till about a decade later. Invest in the things you believe in. Invest in the things that you use.
All right, but I believe in Sky Mavis. I believe in Axie Infinity,
So
and they just got robbed for $600 million. And you were the one who told me about it. You
I
sent
did.
me the text. You're like, and I wanted to sell it. And you were like, no, it's going to be good.
I mean,
they're going to raise money. They got a real business. Hold into that position.
Well, you got to look at who's behind them. I mean, they have some. I mean, at the end of the day, Anamico brands, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm not giving financial advice, but if there was a round of financing that I would do today, and I was looking at who is the next Elon Musk, or who's the next Tesla, or who's the next Apple, it would be Anamico.
Right.
They are. And so when I look at, and what did I say to you when I said that that $650 million got stolen? What did I immediately say to you?
They'll raise money and give the money back.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I think that what was interesting is
they raised 150 million.
Yeah, and they have a lot of money on their balance sheet.
Like Anderson Horowitz that came in for a piece of it. It was like the top names in the space that even after the hack and the $600 million disappeared, you know, like the top people in Silicon Valley said, hey, we're going to give you
because they believed in the
million.
community. They believed in the community.
It's a decentralized video game that the world's creating its own experience.
They are.
So they have millions of daily users that are using this platform, right? It's NFTs. It's the entire, like,
let me be vulnerable with you.
Go ahead.
It was probably around 2015. I was sitting with Jason Calacanis, and actually, Jason Calacanis was one of the first investors in Uber. I was at YC. It was my last YC. I was sitting next to the founder of Friendster. And I remember us talking, and we were talking about deal flow. And I was actually investing in a cannabis company called Meadow. And we all sort of got bored. It became this thing where every round of financing is like what I would say the good old boys and girls. And I think what was interesting is there was a level of like washing out that went on. You know, there was a level of everybody knew that weird shit was going on in Silicon Valley with like the Me Too movement and how people, you know, how certain people raise money and how certain people didn't raise money. And I think what ended up happening is like this whole Web3 and blockchain and Bitcoin, it all, we're this big open community. And what the metaverse is going to do is it's Earth at the 11th dimension. I always try to tell people, they always ask me, how do psychedelics and the metaverse and everything work together? It's this idea of the mind, which is only working at about 10%, opening up. It's like the front cortex of your brain opening up, and all of a sudden, it's like Ready Player One on steroids. And I gotta tell you, it's like the first time in my life in 27 years where it's like, I'm super excited. I'm excited about a world where who I am and my color of my skin, and I want you to think about it like this. I think a lot of us, and I see this in Miami all the time, we don't practice gratefulness. And gratefulness is about the idea of like somebody sitting behind their chair and they're this pseudonym or this ape or this CryptoPunk or whatever it is. I support a lot of the new NFTs. Like there's this new one called Not Your Bro, which is, you know, more of the you know, it's more of the gay and lesbian community which, we're very involved with my business partner. But it's like this idea of like going to
tell us a little bit about Jason. Tell us a little bit about Jason.
Okay, Jason and I have been friends for 25 years, 26 years. Back in 08, 09, we started a holding company, which is the parent company to EI Ventures, which now, as I said, has many investments in subsidiaries. And
Brilliant guy,
tax credit lawyer, was a partner at Pillsbury.
Which is an exceptional Silicon Valley
it is firm. has owned his own law firm.
But it's actually the law firm that wrote the operating agreement for Flyer.
Okay, so it's a great firm. He worked in the San Francisco office, but this whole idea of like whatever skin color you are, maybe you're like, you can't hear and you're using a device, or you have some condition. I have Asperger's. You're not judged in the metaverse. It's this. And what I love about it is this frequency that it's going to give to people, where when I got together last week with all these people that maybe I only know through pseudonyms and other things, it's like, who gives a fuck? I've known you forever. Like, you could be fucking purple or some reptilian, and it's like, you're a cool motherfucker.
Right.
So
it's about your ideas.
Sure.
It's about your thoughts.
No. It's about what's in here.
It's about your heart.
Yeah, it's about your heart. And I see that with my kids, because they're so into like Azukio and, Roblox and Minecraft. And it's
so what about these people, the skeptics that call the metaverse a fugazi?
I mean, listen, Elon Musk has made comments about the metaverse and Web3. What was that saying? I think it was Gandhi, or even Johnny Depp said it, laugh at me now, and later you'll see when I prove my point. I told people that I was going to raise the biggest reggae in the psychedelic space. Matter of fact, we were the first reggae in the psychedelic space, and we were the biggest.
Boom.
So again, it's like, first of all, I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk. I think, number one, he's the wealthiest man in the world, and he doesn't give a fuck. Today he's going to buy Twitter. I appreciate that, but I'm telling you, you can look at my Facebook post back in like 2014, 2015. I called the $50,000 price on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Anamico Brands is going to be $1 trillion business. These apes are here to stay. We're just on the precipice, basement level of when you're going to be doing banking and ATM shit in the metaverse. And I love this word, mirrored worlds, digital and physical coming together. And that's what it's all about.
So I have a vision board, right?
Yeah.
That I built like 10 years ago,
Mhm.
right? 15, 20 years ago, right? I started working on that. So it's like the metaverse, the way I look at it is I look at it as a precursor to the material, the physical,
Mhm.
the physical world, right? So first it exists in the form of an image. And I think the metaverse gives people the ability to create the precursor to how they want their life to look, but it's more efficient.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It's less expensive.
I want a billion people. I want a billion people to be empowered and feel good through the Psilly community. And the only way it was going to happen was in the metaverse. That's why we took an opportunity before it was cool to spend $2.2 million on 300 acres of land. So just to give you an idea.
Talk to us about your investment in digital real estate and where you did it and why you did it, where you did it, and how much you paid for it, if you don't mind, and what it translates to in
let me give you an example. There's only a few people in my life that have you're one of those people, but that blow my mind, and I'm like, holy shit, this person is like Einstein level. Paul Graham, obviously, incredible person. Another gentleman that is with Republic, which you know, if you know Republican, you know me, he's like no ego, been in the best deals, probably has invested in 1,000 to 2,000 companies. You know, he's a unicorn hunter. And then this guy Yatsu, and I started hearing him talk a couple years ago. He's like a philosopher. I mean, he's not a young guy. He's actually probably in his 40s. And you know, they got into CryptoKitties, they got into, you know, Sky Mavis, built the Sandbox. And, you know, I had come up with this concept about a decade ago to build a better version of a Berkshire Hathaway as a holding company. And what he did is through his affiliation with CryptoKitties and this subsidiary called the Sandbox, which everybody knows, now he has a Web3 holding company called Animico Brands. And this company just raised, I think, $500 million at a $5 billion valuation. But he never forgets what got him there. And he says this every time. And I was just listening to the president of Animico, Robbie, the community, the community, the community. And I think a lot of us forget the power of the people. And I know it for a fact because I'm here living in Miami in the United States. We live in one of the greatest countries in the world where you can be anything and you can make it. I'm sorry to keep going.
I love our flyer community. I love your attention. I love the time that you invest.
I'm sorry, I'm so excited.
No. This is great. So Jeremy and I constantly debate in Instagram, right? Like he and I are constantly going back and forth about Instagram.
Mr. Zuck.
Right? So he says that these filters that a lot of women use is like a form of the metaverse.
Yeah, definitely.
Where they create characters of themselves and they put them out on Instagram to get attention. And the kids today are building these like brands in Instagram. Yep. And they learn at a very young age from one another how to create these brands and how to protect these brands and how to eventually monetize their brands. So, with regards to the metaverse, it's like society is already engaged in it, but they haven't even become aware that they're part of it yet.
COVID accelerated it.
Right. So a lot of people on today's Zoom meeting most likely don't think they have any involvement in the metaverse, but they're already involved in it. Some of them may be using skills to build buildings that are done in the same technology that builds the metaverse, right? Architectural drawings, digital renderings.
You're going to be in this broadcast is going to be in the metaverse.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So now
I have free land for you.
So
when you're ready,
listen, I'm taking you up on that. Yeah. We're going to do a joint venture with you guys. We're going to build out a metaverse.
Absolutely.
We got some things to get through, but by the end of the year, that's on.
Well, I'm in Miami. We got to get it done.
We're going to get this done. Let's get back to navigating the gold. I want to make some money. I'm a conservative, old school. I'm an old school guy. Come on. You're an old school guy. I'm an old school guy.
Let me give you the first thing you need to do.
All right, go.
First thing you need to do is open yourself a wallet, a crypto wallet. Okay. And again, I love the Bitcoin maximalist on Twitter. I mean, they're going to hate for me to say this, but open up a Coinbase wallet.
I got one.
Okay. Open up a.
I got Coinbase.
Blockchain. Hey,
Kraken.
I'm gonna just say blockchain.com is our institutional cold storage custody provider. Great firm. Love Peter. Love Jackie. Great people. Open up a wallet with a firm that's a legitimate firm. Learn how to use a wallet. Play with some tier 1 cryptos, as in Bitcoin, 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 and then
Ethereum.
Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. We love Ethereum, but Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
So
And
buy some Bitcoin. That's the beginning.
But buy some Bitcoin. As I said to my father, move some Bitcoin around, get used to it. Send a couple dollars. Yeah,
give somebody a gift.
You know, this is what I love about, like, you know, BlockFi and crypto.com and everything. They got a credit card, and move some Bitcoin to USDC.
So become a player.
Yeah.
But
you know,
in the entry level stuff.
Listen, I had played with, you know, crypto for a good decade. One of my co-founders is a guy that was a pioneer in crypto, Cecil, and you know, I had the right people around me to buy this $2 million piece of land from somebody that was a pseudonym. And at the end of the day now, like, you know, we're engaged with the group that represents Pranksy, which is the top NFT holder in the world. He has $1 billion worth of NFT, where, you know, we're talking about purchasing some land through his group. So as you go down the ranks and you get more experience, you surf the big waves. And I think that at the end of the day, if you're going to come in and try to, you know, get into the, you know, blue chip NFTs and the metaverse and something like that, first learn how to, like, paddle into like a Waikiki wave before you go into like the big surf.
So I got into a project called Time Wonderland.
Yep.
And I'm actually looking it up right now. And it was run by a bad actor.
I know the guy.
So the bad actor absconded with some of our cash, and the whole like thesis of the project tanked. I think we lost like 85% of our money, and I still kept it in there, partially as a reminder, but partially also to see if it ever comes back. And like now that news is out, there's real support behind the project, and it's coming back. It's actually doing what it was supposed to do, which is compounding at a very high APY. And the project has, you know, it purged the fast money, but there's a group of people that are just stubborn and say, we're sticking with this thing. And the price of the coin is sort of stabilized, and the people running the project are like doing their thing. And maybe someday it'll go back to even. I don't know. But all right, your advice so far is start with the basics, right? And then once you have the basics, what's the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, learn, like, actually, like, I think everybody is on this hunt to be like this crypto millionaire overnight. It doesn't work like that. And I think at the end of the day, it's really understanding, like, it's learning how to, I always say, because I learned how to surf in Hawaii and I escalated to becoming a really good surfer. It's like Mr. Miyagi telling Daniel-san, you know, wax on, wax off. And I can remember my surf instructor saying, first of all, you got to go up and down 100 times, learn how to get your stance. I want you to wax your board, comb it through, take the wax off, put the wax on. And I'm thinking to myself, and you know, this big like 200-pound kahuna in Hawaii, and I'm like, holy shit, this is what it takes. And I can remember like being like, oh my God, I'm hurt. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scammers out there in the crypto community. I personally don't do any staking and DeFi type things, but that's a personal thing. I also, you know, I'm conservative. I maybe that's why I'm very bullish on Bitcoin as well. But at the end of the day, I love gamification. I love things that empower community. And what I call it is I go to tier 1 companies or blue chip companies when I'm doing anything. It's like when I buy my NFTs, I use Nifty Gateway, or I use what I would call tier 1 exchanges. I really don't do well with exchanges and people where I can't have customer service. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is when you're getting into the world of DeFi and the metaverse and crypto and all of this, a lot of times you're not going to get a response, or you're going to get weird automated responses. So really the team behind it, like one thing I appreciate about FTX, and I don't do much business with them, but they're very on top of their customer service. Blockchain.com on an institutional level, I can send a text to the person that's handling our account. Like they're very accommodating on customer support. So what I would tell you is when you're getting into this stuff and you set up some phantom wallet somewhere, or you're trying to like manage your own keys and stuff, like you're not there yet. If you think you're going to go out and you're going to surf a big wave at Jaws, you're probably going to lose a lot of money and like get hurt. And what I hate is, because I hear this story all the time, is, oh, I got scammed out of like $100,000. And then when I hear the story, I'm like you've never like really transacted in any of these currencies. So like, what makes you think you can ride a big wave? So that's my first thing, is get educated. I don't like to plug people, but I will tell you, and some of his guests, I would say that 99% of what Anthony Pompliano says in his podcast, I really identify with. He does plug a lot of companies that he's also invested in, but he also makes sure to bring a lot of tier one guests. And I think that getting into a specific podcast, are looking for crypto pioneers like Yatsu, or even Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. Listen, a lot of people talk shit about Coinbase, but at the end of the day, like Brian taking the first tier one exchange public on a big board exchange, and like actually navigating the SEC and FinCEN and everything, as you know, as somebody coming from the hedge fund world, that's not simple.
No, I think Coinbase is the JP Morgan of
Yeah,
cryptocurrencies. I use Coinbase. That's my main, like,
I use it too. I mean, I use it as a hot wallet for some of my NFTs.
I think it's
Yeah.
great. It's not perfect, but it's like what is, right?
I think you need to remind people, and this is a lot of what we are doing as we're getting into the metaverse. We're currently making 100 investments in terms of AR, VR, crypto bank licenses, layer one, layer two solutions, crypto exchanges, gamification. We are building out a community where we talk about this utopian society where we empower people with our Psilly brand. We know that the only place to treat people, a billion people, is the metaverse.
So Jeremy, why don't you try and find an image of the Sandbox Psilly? Is it up?
Awesome.
Damn, he's got it up. The dude's reading my mind. He's a mind reader. So
and we're taking it
you can see
slow.
Psilly. He's on the metaverse.
Yeah.
He's got a lot that's like 4 times the size of my favorite project, which is Axie Infinity.
Yeah, we got very lucky.
He's got the Mac Daddy spot. He takes that from his former life when, it was built in analog, physical, in the real estate game, location. Definitely. You need more revenue than expenses, and that equals profits, right? So those are the mindsets that I like to use, even though we're inside of this new realm.
Can I give a shout out?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Persian community that is heavy in the tech space. A lot of the CEOs, like the CEO of Uber, or other people. And, a lot of the Persians came in the 70s. Through the revolution, they bought incredible real estate here in Miami, Beverly Hills, Manhattan. And listen, I went DC. I went to my dad and my uncles and different people, and I said, what was your key to all this? They said, location. So when I saw that the center parcel was available in the Sandbox, listen, I don't put down any other metaverses. I only buy tier one blue chip NFTs and metaverses. That's it.
I mean, that right there should be a pretty good lesson. He believes in the metaverse. He believes in digital real estate. So now, once you have digital real estate, you got to think about development.
Yeah, sure. We're developing.
Give me some ideas, some projects that you're looking at.
I mean,
for
I
development
mean,
in your sandbox plot that
the
Jeremy just showed people.
yeah, I mean, one of the most exciting things that we've been working on.
And by the way, I'm not trying to promote him.
Oh, we're not even.
I'm not trying to promote him. He didn't ask me to promote this. I'm just trying to figure out how to teach you how to think about this stuff. So I'm asking him what he's doing, and I'm grateful that he's actually going to talk.
So EI Ventures, which is the brand name Psilly, Emotional Intelligence Ventures, which is Psilly.com, which owns this land in the metaverse, which is 333 acres. We have created a subsidiary that is called Pluto 11.11. If you've known me, like many of my friends known me, I've always said I'm from Pluto. I always felt very weird. And if anybody knows me, I've been clocking 11:11 since I was like 7 years old. Like I would look at the clock and it was like 11:11. So
you make a wish 11:11.
Always. So Pluto, so Pluto 11:11 is EI's new subsidiary. Number one thing we are doing is investing and strategically partnering in what we call a utopian focused metaverse, where whatever products you take, whether they're psychedelics, which are a lot of them are illegal, or nutraceuticals, or plant-based things, are a therapeutic place to go to listen to music, meet with your friends, take a journey in the metaverse. I can't give it all away now, but just this idea of somewhere to go to meet with your community of like-minded people. Listen, I'm going to talk about something that we may not want to talk about, but I was having breakfast this morning at the Four Seasons in Brickell. As I approached, there were cop cars and police lines everywhere. And unfortunately, and this is very sad because I get messages like this all the time, is somebody jumped out of a building. So at the end of the day, when things like that happen, and I'm not an expert, I don't have a doctorate degree, somebody couldn't get help somewhere. Somebody couldn't make a call somewhere. And this is where building this community where, God forbid, you're thinking about doing something or taking your own life, there are many, many other people that you can go to that are not going to judge you, that are going to talk to you and talk you out of taking your own life, because you're not hurting just yourself, you're hurting other people. And that's really a big thing for me, because I have lost, a number of friends to suicide. Is like creating in psychedelics, when you go on a journey, we talk about creating a safe space. So I would say, as my mind is going on these tangents, is we want to create a safe space in the metaverse where when you come to our space, you're around what I call neutral density, like-minded individuals. The companies in our metaverse, they represent this, not the wallet, they represent this. And that's why I'm so connected with people like PG, or Yatsu, or my friend from Republic, or even Naval Ravikant, which, the founder of AngelList. I mean, these are truly philosophers. They are people, yes, they are tech pioneers, but they are people that are actually, their dharma, just like Elon Musk.
What is dharma?
Dharma, it's funny, the company was going to be called Dharma before it was called Pluto, but dharma in Sanskrit is purpose. And, at the end of the day, I run with a crew of people that, yes, they've done very, very well. But at the end of the day, the dharma, what drives us every day, is actually making the world a better place. That's it.
So this person who jumped from the 57th floor today,
yeah,
they obviously didn't see a way out.
They didn't have community
of their situation.
Yeah, they didn't have community, and whatever happened, and believe me, I've seen and I've heard it all, but there's no reason to jump out of a building. It's just like the people you hurt doing that, and I just think that as we go into this level, and we haven't even touched on inflation and the government printing money, and you know, the people in Ukraine that are getting bombed every day. Empathy. I got into psychedelics. I did psychedelics myself because I did really well at business, but I needed to see the world out of a different lens. And the lens that I look at the world is in empathy. When you live in a world that is rigged, where nothing is really real sometimes, and financial markets are manipulated, you have to have empathy. I was prepared for this one today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it. All right, so I'm gonna actually take you off the warm and fuzzy a little bit.
go.
I'm gonna take you back to the materialistic, hard hitting investment side of things.
Yeah, sure.
So in the metaverse, what do you consider the blue chip like plays for digital real estate? What do you consider the blue chip plays for NFTs?
I mean, listen,
What do you consider
yeah, I mean,
mining that, navigating that gold?
yeah, let's go into some tier ones that I really like. I've bought ApeCoin. I have land in the Sandbox. I have multiple parcels. As a matter of fact, I have, almost 200 parcels that make up, 200 plus parcels that probably make up, almost 1,000 acres. I have 500 plus NFTs myself in my own hot wallets. I'll give you one that's not a.
So your biggest project, your vision for you and what you're going to develop is a community to help treat mental illness.
I do everything for me in mental illness comes down to frequency. When you have Asperger's, or you have ADD and ADHD, or you're dealing with all these different things that have a characteristic of autism, at the end of the day, COVID and mental health, and yes, it's about frequency, it's about empowerment. And a lot of what I talk about, which one of the books that I should talk about more, that has always shifted Jason and I, is Dr. Emoto's book on quantum chemistry and quantum physics. The idea of putting words like love and empowerment words on water, and understanding that at an atomic level, the characteristics of those products, when you chromographically test them, and that's X-ray testing of like molecules, like products, they look better. The cells look better. The atoms look better. I don't talk about this a lot, but I incubated a Ayurvedic spa or Ayurvedic clinic that works on cancer patients and people that have, HIV and other things, where you go to get plant medicine treatments to become better. That took 10 years. And I think what a lot of people don't know is, yeah, it's great. You want to go buy like this $300,000 ape, like, that's not going to happen right now. So there are really great NFTs and different metaverse plays that are just starting out.
How can people invest in Psilly?
How can people invest in Psilly? Like
Yeah.
well, right now, Psilly, and so Psilly EI Ventures has just closed its Reg A. I do know that, we are in the process, and I hope I can say this, God, we have so many freaking lawyers.
I don't want to get you in trouble. So
So right now, let me tell you what's out there. Orthogonal Thinker, which is the holding company that owns everything, currently has a Reg D and Reg S that we haven't even marketed. We haven't gone out. It's on the website. You can invest there as long as you're an accredited investor. We are working on opening it up to a lot of other people, as we've done with other companies. But yes, we are currently right now raising for our main holding company, which you can go to orthogonalthinker.com.
So emotional intelligence, why EI Ventures?
What do you mean?
Why'd you name it that? What was the reason?
I don't know. I mean, like in the last decade, every time I was like, So Jason and I, we went to Hawaii 10 or 11 years ago. We actually built a wellness retreat center called Lumeria. We were involved with it with another gentleman. Every time we were talking about psychedelics and stuff, we always talked about emotional intelligence. And the funny part about it is we always said, okay, is somebody emotionally intelligent or not? And we always said, if somebody was emotionally intelligent, like the deal would work out. And I think that like last week in the Bitcoin conference, and I'm like thinking to myself, okay, like you can be very wealthy and very successful, and you can be a fucking raging asshole with no emotional intelligence. And I hate to say that, but yeah, emotional intelligence, that's where it starts. That's the currency that I look for.
That's the genesis of a
Oh,
good deal.
well, it is the genesis. It's why you and I are so close. I look up to you because of your emotional intelligence. You're a neutral individual. You have a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of power, but you have a lot of wisdom.
I try and stay, grounded, right?
You're authentic.
I do the best that I can not to get too high, not to get too low
Yeah.
on good and bad. And I treat people with respect.
You always do. I've
Right.
never, I mean, they call you the mayor of Brickell.
It doesn't matter who it is. I try to give them respect that I would want.
And I hope I do the same.
Absolutely. You've been straight up. So let's cover staking.
Yeah.
I know that you don't like staking.
It's not that I don't like it. Just we all know, listen, let's talk about, if we're going to go into staking, let's talk about like Terra Luna, Do Kwon. The man had $4 billion in his treasury reserves of fiat cash. He went and bought Bitcoin. In many interviews, he talks about staking, getting paid at 10, 20, 100, 200%.
88,000%.
Yeah, it's not real. It's not real. It's
None
not
of
real.
it.
None of it's real. I mean,
Not even the Bitcoin,
no.
Ethereum staking?
It's and let me just give it to you because I heard a number of these interviews from the Bitcoin people. The people that are here from out of the country that don't respect the SEC and FinCEN and everything else, they should go back to their countries and not come here, because the reason America is America is because we have rules and regulations, and we do our best to stay within the letter of the law. And I can tell you, because we employ a lot of lawyers that are like ex-SEC or they're securities lawyers. We do everything by the letter of the law. Not one of the investments we have or anything we do has anything to do with staking. I love DeFi. I can't do anything that I feel is fraudulent.
Got you.
Yep.
Jeremy, any questions? So no questions. Thank you for the questions. So with
I don't know if that's good or bad if there's no question.
I don't know. I want to open it up for questions, but if there are none, there's
That's
none.
all good.
So let's go into Axie Infinity a little bit.
Sky Mavis.
Sky Mavis, Axie Infinity. For those of you that don't know, it's a decentralized video game. It's the largest decentralized video game in the world right now, and
Booming.
it's absolutely booming. It's where you take NFTs that are characters or Axies, and they go to war with one another, and whoever wins the war actually wins the spoils. The spoils have a value to them, which is has a liquid market. It's actually changing like economies for entire countries, like the Philippines. So there's a lot of Americans that have figured out, hey, I can give money to somebody in the Philippines to play Axies all day and back them. And, the person's going to make X. I'll be able to pay them a good wage, and then I'll take the returns off of it. So there's entire populations of people who are playing this video game to earn a living. That is remarkable to me.
I meet people all the time that tell me that from other countries.
Do you know of any other like projects that are in the metaverse where people are, it's like changing entire countries, it's changing, like there's some evidence that people's lives are being lifted up?
I think we're really, what I would say, we're really at the beginning points of this. I think that Sky Mavis and the, Axie, what I will tell you is that with the money that Animico has raised, they are the idea of companies doing gamification on the blockchain. Number one, it combats inflation. You're creating tokenization within a community where you're not printing additional swords or NFTs or things. The community is basically making the rules. Again, I'm not a gamer. I have started. I've been lucky enough to actually invest in a company called Gunzilla, which a lot of people are talking about as as it's going to be as good as Axie. I'm now stepping into that. I know that gamification is going to be huge. We are looking at it as Psilly. I can tell you that a lot of the stuff that we've been working on with Psilly and the idea of taking like a metaverse journey, we've looked at like Super Mario Brothers and the idea of like these mushrooms and nature and everything like that. So I think if you really like go back to like the Nintendo and Atari and Sega, we've been living in the metaverse. It's not, I mean, we could even go back to like the I think it's the Commodore or Tetris. It was all there beforehand. I mean, the great part about technology and where we are right now is that it's immersive. I mean, you just showed me something that you saw at blockchain.com, that we now have the technology where we can make it so real where you can feel it, as I say, on this like quantum level. And a lot of what we haven't gone into today is that we really use quantum physics and quantum chemistry in everything that we do. Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy talks about this a lot. Bitcoin is a digital, it's digital energy. That's what it's critical mass. I mean, Einstein, Tesla, if Elon Musk was here, he'd say the same thing. Tesla has a lot to do with quantum energy.
Tesla's more than just a car.
It is more than just a car. And I don't think that what we see in Tesla today is not the end all be all. I think, again, Elon Musk, he's a meme in his own right. These are meme stocks. Yes, these companies make money and they're revolutionary, but listen, I mean, look at what happened with the SEC yesterday. Somebody's suing Elon because he bought a bunch of Twitter and he said, fuck it, I'm just going to buy the whole business.
So we have 5 minutes left, right? What do you want to talk about in those 5 minutes?
I think if we were going to pull it back all the way to, what you talked about as far as this gold rush, I'll put it to you this way, and I've said this many times in a lot of my podcasts, I was listening to podcasts from 2017. We're still in the early days. We're moving from dial-up AOL, where, you're sticking something in the wall where, now you're using a router and a modem. It's still the very, very beginning. Look at it like this. AOL was happening. That's where we were getting our emails. There was this small company called Google. I remember because I was dating a girl in LA that was like one of the top 100 or the first 100 employees. We're right now at the stage where companies, startups like Google are getting started. And I would say this, and I don't want to plug other people because you're a thought leader. I'll tell you who I listen to. I listen to the FTX podcast. I listen to Anthony Pompliano every day. I listen to everything that Yatsu from Animico puts out. I follow specific people on my Instagram feed, and I can tell you that I share a lot with what I'm putting in. I'll give you an idea. For me to get into Web3, I probably ingested over 1,000 hours of material. If you want to surf the big waves, you got to do the work.
So an old school guy getting into Web 3.0,
Mhm.
and your transaction was with what type of counterparty?
On the Metaverse,
Yeah.
it was with a pseudonym.
So you actually transacted business
Yes.
with somebody who was a pseudonym.
Well, I know who he is, but I
But
also.
did you really know who he is? 100%?
Yes, so thankfully, one of my very good friends and senior advisors, Gopal Das, owns a cybersecurity firm in Israel called Safe House. We had found out that the owner of the land owned the largest cybersecurity company in France. We tracked the parcels that the founder of Sandbox had actually transferred the parcels to this account. The great part about decentralization and centralization and on-chain, off-chain, which I will tell you, like, before you get into any of this stuff, you need to like find out about, you need to go study this, is like, you can actually track things on the blockchain.
So there is transparency.
Yeah, totally.
Transparency, but with privacy.
Do you know that most of the time people get scammed, and I've gotten scammed before because of hype. It's because you get excited and you don't like do the work. And our one of our chief technology officers in Eastern Europe always says, David, don't get excited at 2 a.m. Actually, let me like do some due diligence.
So
We're done?
Mr. Nixad, we are out of time.
Mr.
We're
Corcelli.
out of time.
It's all good.
It's great to have you back.
Yeah.
Next time we're gonna be smoking cigars here.
Smoking some joints?
Some I'll smoke some CBD.
Yeah.
All right. You can smoke a joint.
I'll
smoke a cigar.
It's so good, brother.
Thank you for your time today.
Aloha.